They are called humanitarians.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Defined as one who promotes human welfare.
A man dies when he refuses to stand up for that which is right.
And social reform.
I would have to know once and for all what rights I had as a human being.
On this day, we unveil an historic piece of work. A vision executed by the hands of artists, honoring 25 men, women, and a child. KTVU presents Remember Them, Champions for Humanity.
We are walking among giants of humanitarians in the studio of artist Mario Chiodo. He is the Oakland native who is building this monument to honor people who have dedicated their lives to helping others.
And every person Mario Chiodo spotlights, he says, has touched his heart, and now through this vision, he hopes to touch yours. The vision of a sculptor.
I cannot see myself doing anything else, at least as far as my life work.
A man of focus, grace, and determination.
Every sculpture is a new challenge.
His name is Mario Chiodo, his idea born decades ago during his teenage years.
I'm going to make something that could make people feel good or inspire people. I didn't know what that was, but that seed was planted.
And now the seed is growing. Remember them. Champions for Humanity, 60,000 pounds of bronze, 52 feet wide, 27 feet tall. It is a four-piece sculpture highlighting 25 world figures of his choice into one story of hope.
All roads ended up leading here. History and art is sitting in this room.
And it was one moment in recent U.S. history that focused Chiodo's vision.
And I remember thinking, people really must not have any hope to want to take that kind of horrible act.
And so the seed began to blossom. A sketch and then a poster, all driven by a powerful thought.
That no matter what element came in here to try to destroy us, the foundation of this country that was built on will not change.
Chiodo's story started to turn another page.
It's the books that really make you think.
From King to Mandela to Lincoln, the Holocaust, and much more, he read for years, and it's based not on images, but his research. Chiodo began sculpting the facial poses we see today.
It's the story of their life and the triumphs and the tragedies, and especially the transformational times, that give me, anyway, a clue to what these people must have been like, or what did they feel like.
And from small clay sculptors, the faces took shape and grew larger into molds and into bronze. Chiodo says it is a monument capturing the spirit of 25 individuals who sacrificed their lives to help others. It is a symbol of hope he hopes to pass along.
History shows that in spite of difficulties, no matter how difficult it is, people have risen from these terrible atrocities to do better.
It takes a lot of different types of materials to build a monument. Tens of thousands of pounds of bronze, clay, rubber, all used to solidify Chiodo's art for the generations. In fact, the majority of the material actually used in this project will be recycled, all molded together by an army of artists who have been working passionately for nearly a decade.
It is such an enormous project. It is a large piece of art. Mario is still the lead sculptor. He art directs every step of the way, but he has to have assistance because there's just such a massive amount of work that needs to go on, just assembling the largeness of it.
So right now, Richard and Ben are working on the bottom half of section 4 of the monument. The whole thing is covered with many layers of paint. The paint is important because that's what allows the clay to stick to it. And then that clay is the final material that is worked on by the sculptors. That's how we get all of the detail in the faces. That's how we capture the expressions in each of the individual humanitarians on the monument.
I'm making a smaller scale model of Mother Teresa's head, and it will go on the visually impaired wall so that they can have some experience of the giant monument by having something to touch. Mario wants to make the monument to inspire people, and he wants to include anybody possible. And so it's nice for people who can't be visually inspired by looking at the monument to actually have something to experience and participate in.
What Bart is doing right now is applying vegetable shortening to the rubber before we put the plaster on. That's so the plaster will separate from the rubber more easily. The mold has to break apart so that we can remove it from the sculpture. The labeling is really important because it's a huge puzzle, and once we take all the sections apart and deliver them to the foundry, they cast wax inside our molds and cast the head separately in bronze and then weld it back together. So it's kind of a crazy way to do things, but it's working for us.
When we get the mold from Mario, we are the last in the process. There's still a lot to grind over here. It's a challenging piece because it's very big, and to make it to come together, it's not an easy because you're starting from different sides. You don't never know when you come to pull it all together how well it's going to fit.
This is where it turns into metal. We're going to melt the bronze. I'm doing that now. We're preparing the molds. I like fire. I like low frequency rumbles. I like the intensity of it. It'll be about 2100 degrees Fahrenheit.
The best part that I have is when everybody's gone and I walk around and I look at the art. I spend hours and hours after work just to do that.
Maya Angelou once said that all great achievements require time, but she is a woman who knows great achievements also require sacrifice.
I've seen her do all sorts of things to support those things that she thinks are right and are just.
Maya Angelou's gift is in her written word. Through poetry, literature, theater, and education, she continues to leave her mark.
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll arise.
It was on the streets of San Francisco that Maya Angelou first learned what it meant to be a pioneer. At the age of 14, she became the first female African-American cable car conductor. At 17, just after high school graduation, she became a single mom to Guy Johnson. Back in 1961, when Guy was just 16, he learned about strength, about what it means to stand up for what you believe in, even if it means standing in the path of mounted patrols during a march, even if it means standing alone.
And I pulled on my mother and I said, "Ma, come on, the police are coming." She turned to me and said, "I have to tell you, Alex," she said to me, "one person standing on the word of God is the majority." I thought she was crazy. The level of courage, she had it.
In the years since, Angelou has worked with Malcolm X, marched with Martin Luther King Jr. She has received Grammys, dozens of honorary degrees, even a Presidential Medal of Arts, and she continues to write. She wrote poems for the inaugurations of 2 presidents and has spoken out on subjects that both move her and devastate her.
AIDS is cruel. Alas, in the most intimate times between human beings, it intrudes.
It was Angelou's son who first heard of the Remember Them project and who brought his mother to see that work underway.
When she came out, I took her down there, and I think she embraced it wholeheartedly.
Angelou has written that history, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Artist Mario Chiodo has done that in Oakland, molding his dream, in part, into her image. Angelo's son says in this he sees both humanitarian and mother.
Here's a person who reached out to other human beings and helped them be human and helped them find their way.
Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, naturally, there I go rising.
We must make our hearts instruments of peace and nonviolence, because when the heart is right, the mind and the body will follow.